Hi, welcome to Home Video Hangouts. In this video, I'm going to be discussing Jason Statham's new movie, The Beekeeper, and why I believe this was a very important film for Jason Statham and potentially one of his best films yet. Let's get into it. So one of the things I really enjoyed about this movie is Jason Statham went back to his signature acting and fighting style with this movie. Back when he made movies like the Transporter series, the Mechanic series, the Crank series, he had kind of a unique style he used where he had some very fast-paced and brutal action sequences in his movies, and there was kind of a unique camera style that they used, or a filming style where it was very fast-paced, a little choppy, and that was kind of a unique thing we saw in a lot of Jason Statham's movies. And he kind of went back to that here and incorporated it well, and I think it's great he's going back to his roots with this style, and it worked well for this movie. This was also an important movie for Jason Statham because it's his first big leading role of the new year. Last year, he did some films such as The Expendables 4, which wasn't super well received by a lot of people, and then he did the sequel to The Meg 2, and that wasn't the best sequel in my opinion, especially when the original one was a pretty great movie. So I think this is important that he did this leading role right towards the beginning of the year, and I think it's a great way for him to start off the year. And I think whether he decides to continue this into a franchise, it would be great, or if it stays as a standalone movie, either way it was great for him. And it's something where we've seen that he can still make movies like this, and it gives us kind of a picture into what he may be doing in the future, which is great. Another aspect I wanted to cover here about what makes this movie great is the plot. So while it could be said that the plot is somewhat cheesy with everything of how the beekeepers are kind of special agents who also take care of bees, it's a kind of bizarre and a little bit of a cheesy plot, but there's also some relevancy that's added into this film with how the villains in this movie are cyber criminals going after the elderly and targeting the elderly because that's so prevalent in society today, and it's very sad. I think having that as part of the plot added some extra emotion into this movie that we don't typically see in action movies. I would compare this, it's not quite on the same level as how we look at like the John Wick movies and how the villain's killing his dog was a big aspect that added emotion to those movies. I don't think it's quite on that level, but there's still some aspect of emotion that's brought in early in the movie that kind of adds to this film, and I really did appreciate that. Last couple points I wanted to make were, I believe this film was well edited, and it was just the right amount of time that it needed to be. A lot of films are too long these days, and I think this one being right around 1 hour and 45 minutes was just the right amount of time. And I think they really delivered on the action thrills in this movie in just the right amount of time to where it made sense. I also think that a lot of great lighting and visual effects were incorporated in this film to where if this were to get a 4K Blu-ray release, it would be really great, especially with something like Dolby Vision, because there's some nice neon scenes, some scenes that would look really good on a 4K Blu-ray, and I really hope this movie gets that kind of release. Now, moving on, just to note a couple things I think could have been improved. There were a couple characters in this movie who I think could have been represented a little bit better or had a better actor-actress. So one example of that would be the president and her family in this movie. I think that the president and her family could have done a little bit better acting or had a little bit better cast for those roles. I also think the elderly woman who got scammed in this movie, I think that that whole scene where the scamming is taking place could have been acted a little better. It seemed a little cheesy, a little bit overdone, or not very realistic. And so if I had to kind of nitpick a couple things about this movie, I think those aspects could have been improved, but overall didn't take away from the movie as a whole, I believe. So in conclusion, I really love this movie. I think it was a great movie. I would rate it about 8 out of 10. And I think it's definitely one of the best action movies I've seen in a while. And I think whether Jason Statham decides to make this into a franchise or whether this is a standalone movie, either way it's great and it's fine. And I look forward to this coming out on physical media and picking it up. And if you love action movies too, I highly recommend you go out and see this. And make sure, if you're interested in seeing more of my movie reviews, that you hit the subscribe button down below and hit the like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll make sure I see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.